president of this church will not be as international as she thinks she is because Canada and Greenland will become part of the United States. She'll be a domestic denomination host. I refuse to accept that, and I refuse to believe it. Reverend Terry Hordowens, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Thank you, Jesse. Good to be with you, and Happy New Year.
Madam President, it's always a pleasure. What is the faith community's response to what we've witnessed over the last week?
I would sum it up in just a word, at least my colleagues, just outrage, and a reminder to all of us that, as somebody said, it doesn't matter who the president is in the White House, God is still on the throne. That being said, I think people are beginning to mobilize and talk about ways in which they can begin to rally people to make voices and presence known in DC and other parts of the country. But this is simply an outrage for anybody who understands anything about how the Constitution is laid out, both the balance of powers, the role of Congress in these actions. And outrage is probably the best word. I'm still on sabbatical until February 1, and I'm trying to keep my peace. And Trump is really making it hard for me to break away in these moments and act like I'm not connected to anything, because of course we all are.
Madam President, I mean, on a deep level, world events and holidays carry profound spiritual implications by providing structure for communal reflection. It is very, very difficult to wrap one's mind around communal reflection with the world we thought we were trying to build. And into the new year, we find an even greater fracture than there was from the previous year.
It's almost hard to believe that things can continue really to get worse, but you're right. We're coming out of a season, be it Hanukkah, earlier in the year, Muslim friends celebrated Eid, Hindu people celebrate, and Indian people celebrating Diwali. Lots of meaning around what light means, what new beginnings mean. The winter solstice in December, shortest day of the year, and now each day as we're moving towards spring, we get a little more light each day. Those are all profound meanings as people, wrap up a year, regardless of their religious tradition, and try to believe, as was preached in many Christian churches yesterday, that believing that God is doing a new thing. It's difficult as a human person to hold on to even the deepest of our spiritual commitments when the environment around us is threatening not only peace in our own neighborhoods and our own streets, as people in Chicago and LA and Portland and other cities in the United States have experienced, or whether it is new calls to take over Greenland. Trump is now saying, well, in about 20 days, you'll hear more about what we're planning to do about Greenland. And these are the moments in which you talk about the faith not to fall, in which your true belief in not only the power of the divine to address matters, but the power of divine won't mean a whole lot unless we participate with the divine in changing these circumstances, be it protest, be it advocacy, be it just the people on the streets of Chicago who literally interrupted, right? They interrupted the work of ICE on the streets. I think we have to come to some kind of agreement on how we're going to interrupt this process. And that, I believe, is also the work of the divine. But we as human beings must participate with whatever we believe is holy, whatever we believe is right. We can't simply espouse these beliefs without taking action to help build that world that Christians believe is possible because of the coming of the Messiah. And, we talked about Howard Thurman before Christmas. As I was, he's been my thought companion during my sabbatical, and in particular his book, The Mood of Christmas, and that poem, The Work of Christmas. After the angels have stopped singing, after everything is done, now we are in that period when the work must not only begin, but but continue. So I'm hoping that we'll be committed to some form of interruption to equip and educate ourselves and mobilize and work together. No one person could do this alone. We don't need fractions. We don't need messianic leaders who think they are the only answer. We need to work together in order to create the most impactful disruption.
Madam President, let me put my William Barber hat on for a moment. It seems to me that, I think I'll put on my Fannie Lou Hamer hat. We can pray and till we faint. But if we don't do something, ain't nothing gonna change. Now,
Absolutely.
that tells me that in this pivotal new year, that the faith community, which has essentially the same 501c3 status as most voter registration organizations, and a recent ruling by the Internal Revenue Service that preachers can be engaged from their pulpits in political activity. It seems to me that the thrust, Madam President, ought be churches engaging in massive voter registration and voter education for the primaries and general election that's coming up in 2026 on a scale that we've never seen before. My sense is, Madam President, that activity has not crossed the threshold into action. It's still praying, and it's praying in some cases until we faint, until we start speaking tongues and all of that right there. But at what point in time are we going to start registering to vote? The Democratic Party obviously isn't doing that any longer.
There is a powerful movement which has operated, and I've been a part of it every election, midterm, and every primary election, every federal election since I took office in 2017. It's called Faith United to Save Democracy. They have a voter registration toolkit that has been shared across many churches, and they began actually ramping up for 26 right after the 2024 election. And you can Google that. Faith, it's a plural, faith, FAITHS, Faith United to Save Democracy. You may know Barbara Williams Skinner, who is the head of the Skinner Leadership Institute and really was the first executive director of the Congressional Black Caucus. But many of us are partnering as sponsor organizations with that effort, trying to get not only folks registered, but also getting clergy and lawyers to act as judges at polling places to fight the voter suppression that happens.
I am Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. This is The Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Teresa Hord Owens, our very special contributor on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. More when we come forward on Moving Mountain Mondays.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to partner with the Empowerment Congress once again for their 34th annual summit. The summit's theme is From Vision to Action, a forum to unlock participatory democracy, and will feature a nonpartisan gubernatorial candidate forum focused on issues of importance to the African American community. The summit is the signature public policy-oriented observance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy during the national 3-day holiday weekend that celebrates his life. This year's summit will be held on Saturday, January 17th, 2026 at the California Science Center in Exposition Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Admission is free, but registration is required at KBLA1580.com. All major announced candidates for California governor for the Democratic and Republican Party nominations have been invited to participate in the candidate forum, which will be moderated by Tavis Smiley. An all-star panel of journalists will pose questions to the candidates, and the forum will be broadcast live on KBLA Talk 1580. This is going to be a big year for local, state, and national politics. The political pulse of 2026 beats on KBLA Talk 1580.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code STATE to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code STATE to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code STATE.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Moving Mountain Mondays in the Faith Not the Ball. Reverend Terry Ford Owens, President and General Minister of the Disciples of Christ Church. Madam President, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Oh, good to be with you, my brother. Always good.
Madam President, I do have a question, and then I think we're going to return to a quick clip. In the last show, you were listening very carefully to the comments about that I heard raised in a barbershop about how people of color are constantly in every generation, particularly small African, sub-Saharan African, and South American nations, fending off the activity of American intelligence communities for whatever their vital interests are at any given hour. Not their human rights, but the right to dig beneath their soil and take something from them that does not belong to them. And the question in the barbershop centered around, why don't Black people have the bomb? And I want to ask you that question. We've been part of the disarmament movement my entire life. But when you see this kind of naked aggression by the United States of America, I don't have the answer for why we don't have the bomb, because clearly it's a deterrent for Europe. It's a deterrent for messing with Russia. It's a deterrent for messing with Israel. It's certainly a deterrent for messing with the United States and China, and the rest of us without the bomb are uncovered.
Right.
That was the conversation that took place in the barbershop.
Yeah, and believe it or not, the beauty shop that I go to get my hair done, one of the reasons I love my stylist is because she has some political perspective, and we're always talking about these things. We didn't talk about the bomb, but you know, in our community, these conversations are happening. People think they're not happening, but they are happening. You know, the Eurocentric powers that be, particularly post-World War II, did not want African nations in particular, or Caribbean nations, or any nations that weren't Eurocentric to have the bomb, and really were designed to establish the United States as sort of a protector of the peace and a singular world power who could be trusted, right? As part of NATO, United Nations, and other alliances. Only a few nations they thought could be trusted to do that work. Bill Clinton, I heard an interview over the weekend. He is verbally saying, I am so sorry. Those were his words. I am so sorry that I helped to negotiate the disarmament of Ukraine when it became independent from Russia. If
Mm.
they had continued to have nuclear arms, they would not have been a victim of Russian aggression. It would have been a deterrent to Russia. And so, in this kind of world where we see the U.S. betraying the trust that the world has uh, put into it in terms of protecting peace and justice, we see ourselves going across national borders and kidnapping and executing our own justice. There's no American official that would allow people who have been charged with crimes to come into the United States. It would have to be the United States' choice to relinquish that person for justice in the country where the offense is created. But United States is now betraying its trust, and Ukraine is just a really good example. I heard your comment about South Africa, right? South Africa keeping their nuclear arms in order to keep its black majority, right, under control. It's just crazy.
I'm thinking in this moment that that a conversation is going to begin at some point in time. Um, you've never seen our massive military force and power used against Europe since World War II.
Right.
In fact, we defend Europe with that massive military presence. Everything that we've invested for the last 5, 6, maybe 7 decades has been geared towards staving off Russian and, if you will, Soviet and then Russian influence in the world. That's what our weaponry and our fear mongering that was sold to the American people when we supported annually budgets that spiraled in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And now, for the first time under Donald Trump, part 2, it is now topped over $1 trillion annually. And now this very powerful force with satellites from here to the moon, circumnavigating the world with drones, is looking for little poor brown and black people who can't get enough to eat,
Right.
who are in a hustle that is an illegal hustle that does kill Americans and kills people all over the world. But we're using this massive military machine to hunt down the most vulnerable people on earth. And we would never use these kinds of weapons against Europeans, against Russians.
Absolutely.
I mean, the moral irony and the hypocrisy of it all is it's just unfathomable.
Marco Rubio press conference earlier was actually saying, we are doing this in Venezuela because first and foremost, our concern is for the American people.
That's exactly what he's
Secondly, right, the welfare of the people in Venezuela. If you believe that the only valid faith in the United States is Christianity, that we are a nation for God, those very values violate the honor and love for neighbor. They violate the love and honor for humanity that people of all faiths claim. I went to Venezuela as part of a delegation from the Disciples of Christ and United Church of Christ back in September 2019. And we were escorted the entire time by representatives from the Venezuelan government. And part of what we saw was, number one, we heard the critique of the United States embargo on Venezuela trying to control the oil trade. It meant that things like mechanical parts for their public transit system, they sort of have a sky car transit system that gets people around, even the city of Caracas, over the mountain gullies and valleys that are there. And their infrastructure was basically wearing out because they weren't able to get basic parts. People were starving. The oil revenues for the country were depriving even what you might call a communist or dictator government to provide what little social services they were able to provide. African Venezuelans isolated, even in these South African countries, there's still colorism, there's still racism, but the politics were being felt very ripely by Venezuelan people. And we met with Christian leaders who were both for the regime and against the regime. In the midst of it all, the people were suffering. Huge moral failure when you're more concerned about political power than you are about the impact of what you're doing on people who must live and eat in your countries.
I'm wondering, Madam President, because Dr. Asram was on our program on the PL De Silva show, and she was talking about how U.S. aid over time has really enfranchised an elite within many of these countries. And while they may, provide USAID resources to provide what the faith community does amongst the world's poorest and the poorest of the poor within these countries, that there is an undemocratic elite in these countries, that the politics itself do not germinate, if you will, from the ground up. They really are top-down politics. Hence, leaving a serious gulf between the people need, the 30 million Venezuelans, and the 1% that operate in the country itself. That this is true all over Africa. This is true, the arguments she made are all over South America as well.
I think that's true. That's what I witnessed, and we were, in fact, ushered, right? And you saw the lieutenants and those that had power that came from the top down and were part of our escort. And you also saw some Christian organizations that had more favor than others, some religious organizations that had more favor than others, and groups like the Afro-Venezuelan radio station that was targeted and arson attacked in the mountains. Black folks and other indigenous people in Venezuela forced to leave commercial centers and forced to live on the outskirts, not just geographically, but on the outskirts of the city. But when you have only people on the top benefiting from all of those oil profits, housing degenerating in front of your eyes, it was difficult to see the way in which people were living in Venezuela. And of course, the perspective they wanted us to have, one of the guards who kept talking to me because I was Black, he had nothing good to say about Barack Obama's work when he had been in office. And this was after Obama's term. This was 2019. So Barack was already out of office at that point. But they wanted to give us as Americans a negative narrative of not it wasn't really the United States so much as they were singling out Barack Obama as this Black man who had done all of this evil to their country. I've never heard them speak in that way about another U.S. president. And now, of course, they have both aligned with Trump and now they're speaking against Trump. But there definitely is an elite power. They took us to this wonderful musical program to show us how they were providing musical instrument instruction to these children. Beautiful string and brass instruments. These kids are playing beautifully. They kept showing us these little things. It was almost like, here are literally the crumbs that we are giving the people, even as they are dying and being discriminated against in other places. We were there because we support some of the Christian ministries that operated, but even those ministries have to walk on eggshells in order not to offend or create problems with governmental authorities who are always watching them. We had somebody with us the entire time.
I want to go to a clip right now.
And here at home, protests today in response to the U.S. military action in Venezuela.
CBS LA's Lauren Posen is live in downtown LA with the message from those protesters. Lauren.
Lorraine, it didn't stop demonstrators who say they feel this move by the U.S. government is more of a way to control oil than promote democracy. What's happening thousands of miles away in Venezuela brought dozens of people together in Pershing Square.
I'm here because I'm protesting the U.S. military intervention in Venezuela.
Protesters are calling for an end to U.S. involvement in Venezuela following Saturday's large-scale strike by the United States that resulted in the capture of the country's president and his wife.
Venezuela is a sovereign nation, and it's just not in our jurisdiction, and no one else has the right to overthrow their government and say who should be leading them or not.
Activists say today's lightning raid against the U.S. military action on the country is unconstitutional.
I think that the labor movement in particular needs to take a stand. We're not just fighting for bread and butter contract issues, but for political issues, because the workers and working class of Venezuela are aligned with us and not with the Trump administration.
President Trump says the U.S. will run the country until what he calls a judicious transition can take place, and that the U.S. would take control of Venezuela's massive oil reserves. Activists here say that's the heart of the conflict.
One of the most common signs we see here is no blood for oil. That's an important message, and it comes from the endless war on the Middle East that I grew up during. And we are saying no more blood for oil because that is what this war is about.
Activists say they'll continue to hold demonstrations until they feel their voices are heard. Reporting live in downtown Los Angeles, Lauren Posen.
Of Secretary Marco Rubio says it's about us, that their oil is about us. Oh, and then we're thinking about the people of Venezuela and them actually taking advantage of their own oil beneath their feet. And this is as outrageous, as arrogant, as undemocratic, as illegal and immoral as it gets. Madam President?
Absolutely. I mean, I was literally stopped in my tracks when I heard that. I said, oh, you said that thing like out loud, right? You said the unspoken thing out loud and documented for all to see. It's immoral. It's a moral failure. It's even un-American in the ways that we've all been brought up to think of America's desire to do good in the world.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580 with Reverend Terry Hord Owens, The Faith Not to Fall. More on Moving Mountain Mondays when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Today marks Marjorie Taylor Greene's final day in Congress. The Georgia Republican announced her resignation in November after a public break with President Trump, criticizing him on issues including health care subsidies and the Epstein files.
And I do not want my sweet district to have to endure a hurtful and hateful primary against me by the president that we all fought for.
Green, first elected in 2020, also recently spoke out against U.S. actions in Venezuela. Sharon Owens is outlining her vision as Syracuse, New York's new mayor. In her inaugural address, Owens pledged to focus on opportunity, equity, and long-term growth. Owens is the city's first African-American mayor and the second woman to lead Syracuse. And rapper Megan Thee Stallion is celebrating a new business milestone as an official Popeyes franchise owner. The Houston rapper recently opened her first location in Miami and shared the moment on social media. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Rams and Chargers will have to make a cross-country trip for their first-round game in the NFL playoffs. The Rams locked up the number 5 seed in the NFC and will play at Carolina on Saturday, 1:30 p.m. kickoff on Fox. The Chargers are the number 7 seed in the AFC. Their first-round matchup is at New England, the number 2 seed in the AFC. That game is scheduled for Sunday at 4:30 p.m. on NBC. Raheem Morris, one of 5 African-American head coaches in the NFL this season, was the first head coach to be fired. The Atlanta Falcons fired Morris Sunday evening, despite the Falcons winning their last 4 games. Atlanta finished 8-9. LeBron and Luka Doncic combined for 62 points Sunday night to lead the Lakers to a 120-114 win over Memphis. Doncic had 36. LeBron dropped 26 and 10 assists. The Lakers are 22-11, third best in the Western Conference. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, aka the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Hi, it's Tavis Smiley. For 40 years, I have had the privilege, and I don't use that word lightly, the privilege of sitting down with presidents, world leaders, authors, artists, activists, the folk who shape our world. Thousands of conversations, tens of thousands of questions. And somewhere along the way, I realized that the art of conversation is dying. So here's what I'm going to do about it. I am now going to teach what these almost 40 years have taught me, how to have conversations that matter. 6 courses, from the anatomy of a great conversation to generous listening as a superpower to handling difficult exchanges without losing your dignity or your mind. Go to TavisTalks.com right now. That's TavisTalks.com. Download the free guide, see what's coming, sign up to be the first to know when we launch the series. Conversation is a skill, and like any skill, it can be taught. I'll see you in class.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code STATE to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code STATE to get up to a $5 per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code STATE.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, the J Lunch Club, the Faith Not to Fall, Moving Mountain Mondays with Reverend Dr. Terry Hord Owens, the President and General Minister of the Disciples of Christ Church. Madam President, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's always a pleasure. Madam President, let me go right to a clip.
We certainly saw some large crowds pack Federal Plaza here tonight, continuing to push back against the Trump administration and these attacks on Venezuela. They say that this is another unnecessary act of war while demanding an end to the use of taxpayer dollars for international affairs. fiery crowd tonight in downtown Chicago, speaking out against the U.S. attacks on Venezuela as President Nicolas Maduro and his wife were taken into custody by U.S. forces. Anti-war activists say the U.S. has been down this road before.
Whether it's Saddam Hussein's Iraq or the Taliban in Afghanistan, Panama, Libya, you name it. Whenever the United States attacks another country like this, it's the peoples of those countries who suffer the most.
While many Venezuelan nationals are happy to see the regime removed, there are growing concerns locally over how all of this was carried out, as Congress was not notified of the operation.
In open violation of international law and U.S. law, invading a sovereign country, kidnap their president, kidnap their first lady, and call this just.
Protesters continue to demand the Trump administration to focus on issues here in the U.S.
The people of Chicago oppose this because, our public infrastructure is underfunded, it's failing, we don't have social programs, people are facing homelessness, lack of jobs, lack of adequate education, and meanwhile our tax dollars are going to bomb people in Venezuela.
President Trump said today that a team of U.S. officials will help run Venezuela during this transition. A history professor from DePaul is.
Madam President, I do have a question regarding the Democratic contenders for President of the United States. We've witnessed Donald Trump bomb 8 countries in less than 1 year. He's got 3 more years to go. Possibly setting a record, launching a bomb on every continent on earth as president of the United States before the end of his term. But the absence of Democratic presidential contenders and their voices and their outrage, and whether or not, if they are elected president of the United States, that day one of their administration means the withdrawal of American forces from the Caribbean and that part of the world, and the restoration of the rights of sovereignty and international law and respect, more specifically for the sovereignty of these nations, if that is a new policy going forward, or will Democrats just kind of slow walk it like Merrick Garland and just, we'll get around to it eventually. Some parts are working, but some parts aren't. Come on, I'm getting tired of it, Madam President. Have you given any thought to the silence of the Democratic nominees or potential nominees?
I mean, it's frustrating, largely, and perhaps most importantly, because the people are being so clear about what it is they want. And in order to, I think, rally that base that has traditionally been the Democratic base, you'll have to pay attention to what these people in the streets are saying, not only in the United States, but around the world. We have to participate in this disruption, and we need leaders who understand that the disruption is not disrespect, but it's actually full respect for the rule of law in this country. It's full respect for the humanity of all those who live in the United States, and full humanity for those who live in countries around the world. Our respect for sovereignty, our respect for perhaps multilateral discernment and action, as opposed to this unitary executive and this unilateral action that the United States is taking. But when we become more concerned about where we step politically and try to be devoid of all critique, then we miss what the people are saying. I'd rather stand with the people who are making their voices heard. And certainly they're savvy, and they're a strategy to be employed in any political campaign. But I've been to DC many times just in the last year since Trump has been back in office, and people are listening. But beyond what they can or cannot do in Congress, we need Democratic leaders to be standing with people in the streets. We need people to be hearing and affirming the anger and the frustration. We need people, and it's not really reaching across the aisle to reach out to people who voted for Trump. You're reaching out to humanity, to people who are poor and not doing well economically, the people whom these policies, that FAFO message that people are saying, you thought you were getting this and you're actually getting this. We've got to meet people where they are in terms of what's happening in their homes, and on the streets. The people are speaking, and we need to pay attention, and we need to see direct alignment with the people.
I'm wondering if in this moment, if the Democrats themselves are uncertain as what the position is that they should take. And I was more than willing to help Gavin Newsom or J.B. Pritzker write the appropriate press release that the people can hear, because what has happened is so outrageous and such a violation of international rights and international law, and the absence of the Congress's participation is it's so embarrassing, so humiliating, so devastating to the future of the country. And now is a real profile and courage leadership moment, Madam President.
It is, and this is really about the welfare of humanity more than anything. And we're allowing the placement of our concern about that Venezuelan oil. Let's be clear, it's about the oil. Stocks for American oil companies went way up today. That's just another indication of why this is being done. And for people of faith, no matter what faith tradition you practice, your priority must be the welfare of humanity. And within that, just basic respect for the sovereignty of nations on which our international communities are built to respect the sovereignty and to respect what people are doing to ensure that humans are fed. So if we don't like what's happening in Venezuela, there are other levers that we can be pulling to ensure that world opinion and multilateral action against nations that are violating human rights like this can be attacked. But we have to not only speak out. I mean, Gavin Newsom will put out a cartoon about Trump. Let's see some bold action about what Trump is doing, and not just the buffoonery that we see, but hear the people and let the people know that you hear them. And not only that you're willing to stand with them. People of faith are often reluctant to make comments on these matters because they say, oh, it's the church being political. No. This is not partisan politics. This is not being political, in my mind, is from a church perspective, is endorsing one candidate over another. We don't do that. But we certainly have to stand for the moral structure in this country. We have to be the moral conscience of the nation, and we have to be vocal and visible and active about those things that our faith calls us to, which is, again, the dignity of all humankind. As Martin Luther King said, I have the audacity to believe that people should have 3 meals a day, that they should live in peace, that they should be able to have health care, all of these things. That's my continuing mantra, to have the audacity to believe that the world can be this way. And people of faith are called to do it. It's not a violation of your faith. It's the very foundation of your faith to engage in these activities.
The American oil companies are stealing the oil of the Venezuelans.
Yep.
And I'd like to see some really angry pastors come out and organize themselves in a way, and civil rights organizations. Let's pick a couple of these oil company targets and let's not buy gas at their stations any longer.
Yep.
It's time to ramp up exactly what they're stealing, these people's natural resources.
Yes. And we saw that, right? During the anti-apartheid movement. I was in college. That was the issue. People didn't buy gas from Shell because Shell had huge holdings in South Africa. We can do that again. It's that kind of large collective and collaborative boycotting that really helped to pull down apartheid in South Africa. But we've got to pull down the injustice of this executive, and we've got to work together to ensure that what he thinks he's doing is not helpful.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our very special guest is none other than Reverend Teresa Terry Hord Owens, the President and General Minister of the United Disciples of Christ Church. More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Oh, how's that flu, babe? Did you take DayQuil Intense Flu yet?
Nah, I got this. Ugh, okay, I don't got this.
You stay on the couch, and I'll grab the Dayquil.
Undo your flu symptoms with Dayquil Intense Flu. Dayquil Intense Flu provides powerful relief of your flu symptoms.
I'm ready for that to-do list.
Wow, you do got this.
Dayquil Intense Flu. The daytime coughing, aching, fever, under your flu medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493, 800-515-4493.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver Card is at table 27, and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver Card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580. Download the app.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and the Faith Not to Fall with Reverend Terry Hort Owens on Moving Mountain Mondays. Madam President, welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
Oh, thank you, Jesse, and Happy New Year again.
It's always a happy new year with you and a happy day. Madam President, I want to, just before I do, I want to say that tomorrow our very special guest on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show will be the distinguished gentleman, the Honorable Congressman of the 1st Congressional District of Illinois, the Honorable Jonathan Jackson, my brother, who is a member of the Foreign Operations Committee in the Congress of the United States. I really want to hear his take on these world events. He's been to South America, to every continent on Earth, and I'm sure that he has a perspective about the unraveling of America's standing in the world as a result of the precipitous actions of the President of the United States, Marco Rubio, Stephen Miller, and the cabal that is occupying the White House. Madam President, I do need to ask you, however, about the church and our faith. Can denominations actually come together under the banner of non-interventionism, under the banner that, these are Donald Trump, American Christians taking advantage of Venezuelan Christians. Now, these are white Texas Christians coming to Venezuela, a nation of Christianity.
Yeah.
I mean, serious religious people who take Christianity very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And I might add, I think Catholicism is a major religion in Venezuela and in South America. And I'm wondering about the amazing silence of the Pope right through here. Maybe I'm missing something, but I've been looking for something from the Catholic Church. Madam President, can the denominations come together to deal with exactly what's happening? This is white Christian capitalist nationalism invading a Christian country. In the meantime, he's lobbing bombs at Muslims in Nigeria, arguing that the Christians in Nigeria are not being treated fairly within Nigeria. How do you reconcile, Madam President?
You know, not only can denominations come together, they really must. I'm a little surprised that we haven't heard anything from Pope Leo as well, although I trust that we will. We work in joint global ministry, the Disciples of Christ with the United Church of Christ, and that statement was issued on our behalf. I gave the producer the link to that statement, and it does reference the action that happened against Nigerian Christians. We have this thing, as you know, called Christian nationalism, which infects Christianity with a sort of a malignant form of nationalism that distorts everything, turning it toward that focus. As Marco Rubio said, everything is about us first. And when we say us, you know, Rubio is sort of identifying with the oppressor, because in a real definition, it's only because Rubio has aligned himself with the power structure that he's even included in the us, because his people are not really included in the us. If he were outside that power structure and had not surrendered all of his moral crucible to serve in that administration, he himself would not be included. We have a real, and I find it frustrating. I do a lot of work, as you know, with Dr. William Barber. I'm involved with Sojourners, with the Faiths United to Save Democracy, and even across some of these movements, you'll see some denominations participating with everybody, but you'll see some people who will say, well, I'll do my work, and I'll do my work over here. If Christians across the United States, and this has been a dream that I've had, to get clergy across the United States to all show up, multi-faith, multi-generational, if just the clergy would make a visible presence at some place in the United States, or even doing it to mobilize in cities, the way that the Christian clergy did in South Africa. I think I've shared that story before, that Desmond Tutu says that someone in the South African parliament, when they saw this huge display of clergy in their vestments showing up to protest to parliament the work that was going on under that regime, and to protest the injustice of apartheid, one of the members of parliament said, apartheid is done because these people see it as holy work and they will not be turned back. We've really got, and our leaders have to do it. We've got to quit being afraid. I'm elected to my position. I've been elected to my second term. You'd have to almost, I guess, impeach me. And sadly, I've never been really afraid about how people might respond. I believe I'm speaking God's truth. And if you disagree with me, that's great. But I'm not going to be silent because someone says, oh, the denomination should not be engaged in this political conversation. The denomination must be engaged in the work of justice. And every Christian denomination, every faith organization must be engaged in the work of justice, or we need to lay that faith mantle down, because we're not doing the work of Jesus. Jesus didn't call us to create little clubs on corners and invite people to coffee on Sunday. He said, feed the hungry, deal with situations that keep people oppressed and who are captive, and fight for the health and well-being of your neighbor. If we're not doing that, we don't need to exist.
Madam President, just before your word of hope, I would share with you this, that yes, Venezuela is predominantly Catholic. And now would be a great time for Pope Leo to take his first international trip to Venezuela and demand the departure of American forces from the country of Venezuela.
He has to date been very critical of the United States leadership. And I've been very glad to hear that. And this is certainly a time for him to take a stand. And because there are so many people, particularly in the global South, who are Catholic, his words will carry a lot of weight.
If it were my dad, I can tell you this: he would go as
Oh
Pope
my gosh.
and he would not leave. He
Oh
would
my
stay
gosh.
there until America withdrew. If my dad were Pope,
Yeah.
that's Jesse Jackson that I know. Madam President, a word of hope.
You know, the Poor People's Campaign Repairs of the Breach are planning a rally February 11th through the 14th, culminating in a gathering on February 14th. That was already in the works, as I understand it, but I'm sure that the shift will change. As we're coming out of this holiday season and we think about both the message of Hanukkah, where the hope for the miracle that was realized, that the candle, the oil did not run out in order to secure victory, the hope and peace that are such a part of so many religious traditions. I always turn to Isaiah 11, one of the major Advent texts that talks about what the Messiah will be like, but also what the society will be like. And I say it is a model for our movement globally as human beings, that we want to create an environment where people who are unlike one another understand that the goal is to build a country, to build a nation, to build a world where we can all live together in safety and in peace, and we will be free from fear and war, and we will all have enough. But we must act together in order to build that society. The prophets understood the world can be different because of this Messiah. And particularly if you're Christian, if you believe that, you're obliged and you're compelled, you're commanded to do that work so that we can build not just your neighborhood or your nation, but a world that reflects these values of love and respect for neighbor and respect and love for humanity. You have to be willing to put yourself on the line in order to defend and live out that faith. That's where I stand. And I know there are people who disagree with me on that, but as Martin Luther said, here I stand, I can do no other. So that's my word of hope. Let's make the world what we know it can be if we work together and disrupt this evil and this immoral action.
Amen. Amen. America is a country that was founded upon principles that include property rights.
Yeah.
If a man is born, a man or woman is born into this world of a different nationality, the rights that you have as a human being are the very soil that you stand on. No nation has the right to come and declare that which you were born into, your inheritance, the inheritance of your children, and declare that it belongs to them now.
Amen.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Our very special guest has been the president and general minister of the Disciples of Christ Church. Madam President, thank you for spending this day with us.
Always good to be here. Blessings for the week.
More when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.